Hey everyone. I figured I would get in front of the camera instead of hiding behind the keyboard. I believe that I am more powerful behind the keyboard, so I thought that I would push myself to tell a story in front of the camera. Plus, I think that this story needs to be told not only for myself, but I think it means more. It's more authentic, and it feels real. I think words downplay it. I think words sugarcoat it, and I think words make it not as powerful. So I thought that I would share kind of something that's really strong and true to my heart. On Monday, March 18th, it is National Trisomy 18 Day. So if you don't know what that is, trisomy 18 is the sister disorder, I like to call it, of Down syndrome. So these babies who are born with trisomy 18 have an extra chromosome on their 18th, or they have an extra 18 chromosome? I don't know how you say that. Let's just say on pair 18, instead of 2, there's 3. So like Down syndrome, they're extra special. They are a little bit more special than we normal people who have only 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs. Down syndrome, children with Down syndrome, children with trisomy 18, and then also children with trisomy 13 are just a little extra special than us. So a little jealous in that aspect. But so March 18th is National Trisomy Day. It is really important to me because my second child, biological child, my first biological daughter, Jada, is my first daughter. She is my stepdaughter. She is the child who made me a mom. So she has an amazing place in my heart that my other kids biologically cannot give me, just because she is the one that taught me how to be a mom. But this is a story about Terese, who is my first biological daughter. She was born with trisomy 18, and just a little bit about trisomy 18. It's also called Edwards syndrome. Like I said, it is that extra chromosome on the 18th pair of chromosomes, and only about 50% of babies will even make it to term, and that in itself is significant. And then they say less than 1% actually, like 1 to 10% actually survive to their first birthday, but it's very rare. Some symptoms and things that are associated with trisomy 18 is an underdeveloped brain, a deformed heart, clubbed hands, clubbed feet, and significant learning disabilities. It's very rare to see a baby with trisomy 18 survive past a year and survive without extra means like tubes and machines and things to keep them able to survive. It's very rare to see a baby survive on their own, and I know that's my belief. I don't know if everyone would believe that. That's what I was. That's what I researched. That's what I've been told by many doctors. The prognosis is not very good when a baby in womb is diagnosed trisomy 18. So we found out when we were about 6 months pregnant. A little bit of a backstory. Me and Jerome have had issues with infertility. We had 3 miscarriages prior. Our first miscarriage was a chromosome not malfunction, but a chromosome defect called Turner syndrome. And our other 2, we never got tested just because I just didn't want to know anymore. And it was just hard to continue to learn that there were chromosome, and usually miscarriages are based off of chromosome deformities, or I don't even go, like I said, I don't know the words, but it was starting to, I was starting to take it personal. I was starting to think it was my fault, even though all of the doctors reassured me that I hit the jackpot in regards to bad luck. So a lot of my miscarriages, well, 2 of the 4 babies that I lost were due to chromosome. I assume the other 2 had something to do with it as well, but like I said, we never got tested. So yeah, we had an experience with miscarriages, so we always went into every pregnancy a little bit afraid. JD, our first child together, was an easy pregnancy. However, he had a lot of complications after birth, and that's for a whole nother story. But for the most part, we were on medication. We carried him to term. He was a few weeks early, but for the most part, our pregnancy was pretty easy. Yet we still had that fear. We had a miscarriage after him. So after we got pregnant with Terese, like I said, we were skeptical to own it. We were afraid to attach, especially myself, when I found out it was a little girl, just because I just didn't want to get my hopes up. I had already miscarried a little girl my first time around, and it just was one of those things where I thought that Jada was going to be my only girl, and I was going to have JD, and that was it. So when Terese came along and we were passing all of our ultrasounds, we were passing our tests with flying colors, I thought that I could breathe a little bit. And when I did, again, this is a thing where I really had to come to terms with, because of course this isn't what happened, but I believed that when I took a breath and accepted her, all hell broke loose. So around 6 months, we went back in for another ultrasound. We did a lot of them. We didn't do any genetic testing because, again, I didn't want to know. But when we did the ultrasound, you could just tell on the doctor's face that something was wrong. He first started out telling us about her heart and just saying that she had only 2 chambers. And then he started using really big words. We both kind of just didn't understand what was happening. And luckily for myself, Jerome, being the type of person he is, pretty much just shut down the doctor and said, hey, tell us like it is, what's going on, what are we dealing with? And finally, the doctor said, I'm pretty sure, I'm not confident, but I'm pretty sure that your baby has trisomy 18. Again, a lot of big words. I didn't hear anything except that she only had 2 chambers, that her brain was underdeveloped, and that she wasn't given a really good prognosis. So after the doctor left, me and Jerome talked a little bit. Jerome flat out, and I don't want to make it seem as if I am mad about this or that he is a bad guy at all, but Jerome flat out just said, we can't do this. We can't raise a child with this significant abnormalities. And, I think I agreed with him, but I didn't want to, so I fought back a little bit, but we didn't need to make a choice. We were given some options. One of them was to get a second opinion, which we did. And then we also got another opinion just to understand what it was we were dealing with. It was hard because I was feeling her kick. I could feel her move. We would see her heartbeat. So to me, it was really hard to place the fact that she could really be as sick as they were saying. So in the state of Wisconsin, you cannot have an abortion. I hate the word. And I don't hate the word because I think it's wrong. I think that people have the right to do what they want to do. I always said I was never going to have an abortion, even prior to having issues with infertility, but just the word feels, the word has such negative stigma, and I see women who choose to have abortions and they go through so much public shaming, and I was worried that was going to happen because They did. They considered that if we were to make a choice to deliver early, that it would be medically referred to as an abortion. So that was probably the hardest thing I had an issue with, is actually going through with it. Was I just didn't want that title, or I didn't want that in my medical history. But in the state of Wisconsin, they have a date. They have to pick a date, of weeks of how long your baby can be before you're not allowed to, unless it's medically a medical necessity for the mom. And so around 24 weeks, we had 3 days before we were going to hit that mark, and we had to make a decision. The doctors, all of them, told me that the chances of delivering her alive with keeping her in the womb was going to be less than 1%, just due to the significance of her abnormalities, especially her heart and her brain. So they said that we could take the chance and try to deliver early and see, maybe we would have a second with her. But most likely that no matter what we did, she was going to pass away in utero. And I think that the hard thing for me was, could I sit pregnant for 2 more months, knowing that she was going to pass, and knowing what it would feel like to deliver her in a couple months, but and all of the stress and anxiety and the depression that I now was going to have to start facing, because I knew that she was sick, and I knew that I was going to have to say goodbye to her. So after talking with Jerome and my family, we had felt that it was better for our children, it was better for our marriage, and it was better for my mental health, because I was already going to be struggling with the hormones of being pregnant. But I knew myself, I know my mind, I know my heart, and if I stayed pregnant for 2.5, 3 more months, I think that would have broken me. I think that would have broken our marriage. I think that it would have broken my chance of having or being present for Jada and JD. So we made the choice to deliver her early. We went in on a Thursday. Everything was good. My cousin was getting married that weekend, so my family was supposed to be there, yet they all surprised me. It's a weird word to say, surprised me. It feels like it was a party. But they came up and spent the next 48 hours with me. My mother-in-law was there. I probably would have done some stuff different and had other family there, but I just, again, the state of mind I was in, I really didn't ask anyone to be there. They just showed up. And I would tell you that it is one of, if not my best memories of my family. And it's a weird thing because it comes with so much heartache, but literally watching them be there and stand there with me, watch me and hold me when I cried, and just were present, to me still is the coolest thing about my family, is knowing that they showed up for me, because I didn't even know it, but I needed them, and they knew that I needed them. So it was a pretty cool feeling. It made the experience better, if you could say that. So we delivered her. We went in Saturday. We delivered her on... No, we went in Thursday. We delivered her on Saturday at the night. She was born asleep. She fought to the end, but she did, they say, pass. She passed right before we delivered her, because they could tell on the monitor her heart was not strong enough. But I got to hold her. She was perfect. It's crazy to think a baby that small, she fit into our hands. Her feet, I still can remember her feet. They were these tiny little precious things, pure perfection. It was interesting because she resembled a little bit of JD, which I guess I never would have thought that with her being so little. You could tell she had the club hands. You could tell she had the club feet. You could tell her ears were lower set, which is another characteristic associated with trisomy 18. And yeah, she was perfect in every way. And unfortunately, I didn't get to spend much time with her that night just because I had to go into surgery because I was having complications. So they took me to surgery. I was out the rest of the night. And then in the morning, I got to spend about another hour with her. I think that was the hardest piece of going into this experience, is knowing that I wasn't going to take her home. That's why I think we made the decision too, was that I think it would have been harder having being pregnant for 2.5 more months and knowing that I wasn't gonna to bring her home. This, at least I was dealing with it right there and then. I didn't have to just let the feelings or the emotions get stronger, I guess you could say. And I know some people wouldn't agree with that, because they would think that some people would say that they would want to carry their baby to term and then say goodbye then. And I just knew myself. I knew my mental health. I've struggled with depression and anxiety all of my life, and I just knew that it was going to be harder than going through the process at that time. So yeah, I got to spend an hour with her. It was the hardest thing to give her to the doctor. The cool thing is that there was a funeral home that works with the doctor, and they did all of the arrangements. They picked her up. We did get her cremated, so she is with us always. And we also, before she passed, we got a recording of her heart, and it's in a bear. So I have her heartbeat with me all the time, which is one of my most prized possessions, along with her ashes. But yeah, it's fascinating because trisomy 18, I never heard about it. I watched Born This Way, which is about a group of young adults who are diagnosed with Down syndrome. And every time I watch it, I always wonder, what if, could she have been that 1% that survived past a year, and what would her lives be like? And that's what I get in trouble doing, because the what if game, man, that can put you down in a hole, and it can make it very hard to get back up. And I always challenge myself not to go there, just because it's painful. It's tough to come out of it. And I also know that if without Terese, I wouldn't have Tegan, and that's another complicated emotion to deal with. I think that it is always hard because you fight to say, I want Terese here. We all want Terese here, but if Terese was here, Tegan most likely, it's safe to say Tegan wouldn't be. And then I wonder, well, what would I do without Tegan? And you go back and forth, and I think it's normal for moms to go back and forth. And I think that no matter what, there is guilt, even though you made the right decision for your family, for yourself. There's always the what ifs, and that is a dangerous game. I think that's where other people judge too quickly, is because they play the what if games. I've had the question asked of, well, what if she survived, and what if she wasn't as or the prognosis wasn't as negative or dire as what the doctors had said. And if I go there, I have a lot of self-loathing, a lot of hatred toward myself for making the decision. But I do know in my heart that it was the best decision for our family, for my marriage, for myself. Yes, I pray every day that I could see her. The coolest thing is, though, is that she's given me the gift of Tegan. Tegan is perfect. She sleeps through the night, which is amazing. And I get a sense that Terese is a little bit a part of Tegan. And like I said, without this experience, we wouldn't have Tegan. And I wouldn't have had the ability to be with my family and cherish moments a little bit more because we went through this tragedy. That's a hard word to say for me. We really appreciate our three kids. We really appreciate the time. Yes, we yell at them. Yes, they drive us crazy. But because we've lost, we have learned to love. I also really have learned to hold people at a greater or with a greater hold, in the sense. And what I mean by that is when I see moms who have babies tantruming, or if I see moms who are struggling, I just in my heart am hugging them so deep, because I know what it feels to be a mom. And the women that I've met through the child loss world have been some pretty amazing women. And I also know we have different beliefs. I also know that people look at what we decided as an abortion, or worse things have been said. And that's okay too, because that is their belief. And I understand why they believe what they believe. But because of what we went through, I will never judge another mom. I will never judge a woman or a man, or parents in any sense of the way when they make any decisions for themselves or for their kids, because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure it out. There's enough shit in this world that we don't need to add more judgment and more hatred. I think we need to love. I think we need to accept, and that's all cheesy and whatnot. But what I tell you is that it's the truth. And my experience with Jerome around losing Terese was eye-opening. I really learned about where my boundaries were. I learned about what my values and morals, and I also learned where my judgmental or my judgments, I don't know how you'd say that, but I saw where I judged people. Like I said, abortion has always had a negative connotation in my mind. I never judged women who chose to have abortions, but it always sat with heaviness when I would think of it, because I'd always be like, why are you doing this? Like, could you give them up for adoption? And now, even though my story might be different, there's no judgment. There's no, I don't question it. I will support any woman for making any decision, because at the end of the day, who am I to tell you what to do and what not to do? I just want to be able to love, and I want to be able to support people. And Terese did that for me. I believe that I've always been someone who cared deeply about people and how they do, and I've always wanted to be there. But she really made that stronger for me, and she's really opened up my eyes, especially after Tegan, that I need to be living my best life. There's no more waiting, and there's no more wondering or allowing self-confidence to get in the way, because at the end of the day, our days are limited. And who knows what's going to happen. So Terese is a huge part of me doing this blog, doing some life-changing stuff right now in my world, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I just believe, though, that she is there cheering me on. I like to picture her as my most well-behaved child, just because I can't imagine having 3 children that are so naughty that she has to be my most well-behaved, and maybe that's why she is not with us, is that they needed that. I like to tell myself that God needed her, just because she was so special. And I think that extra chromosome kind of like Down syndrome, children with Down syndrome, or even adults with Down syndrome. There is that specialness to them, and some we are blessed to have here on earth with us, and others we are blessed to have them as an angel. And it's pretty cool that I have my own guardian angel, and Tegan and JD and Jada and Jerome. We all have this little baby that really changed our lives for the better, and has given us some crazy memories. And I think without her, we would not be as strong of a family as we are. Like I said, we've gone through a lot. It's taken us a lot to get to this point, but we're here. We've made it. We are a pretty cool family, if I don't say so myself. But yeah, I wanted to share the story, one, because it's National Trisomy 18 Day on Monday, but two, because I think as women, we don't talk about what's hard for us. We don't talk about our experiences, especially with child loss. I think because we all have definitions of what a miscarriage is, what determines a baby. Is it at conception? Is it at heartbeat? Is it when they come into this world? And I think that because we all have different beliefs and definitions because of our experiences and how we're raised, we sometimes are a little bit harsh. And I think that this is a story where it gives other women to have courage to talk about it. Infertility is it sucks, man. It really does. And like I said, the women that I've met, the women that I've talked to, the women I've reconnected with who have lost children, who have had miscarriages, it's been an amazing support group. And we might not talk every day. Sometimes it could just be through Facebook stalking that we have relationships, but it's strong and it's wonderful. And I thank all of you. I'm always here for any other women who would love to talk. And I just want to encourage women to talk. Share your stories. You'd be shocked of how many of us out there have experienced something along the lines of losing a baby at every stage. And I think it's pretty cool if we women come together and connect rather than tear down. We're a force. Shoot, we make up the majority, and like Beyonce says, we run the world. That was from my sister. She loves Beyonce. I do too, but she always is all about that song and whatnot. So, yeah, I really hope that you can relate, and even if you can't, I hope that you can open up your heart to other women or other families that have experienced this or have different beliefs on what their choices are, and that you love, and you just ask questions and you learn from people and understand why people make their decisions rather than judge. Like I said, we as moms can really make a difference, and I think that together we're powerful, and it's just, yeah, I got nothing. It's kind of funny, but I appreciate you listening. I love sharing my story of Terese. She makes me smile even through my stories. She is in my world every day, and I just am glad that you guys listened. And I apologize that I look like death. I did a 0.1 miler today, the beer run, the St. Patty's beer run, supporting the Boys and Girls Club. So a little bit exhausted from the football length of the football length field, with a lot of beer and a lot of cheese balls as our hydration station. So I'm a little bit exhausted from that. Probably the least athletic event I've ever done in my life. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. And yeah, good night.